growth in the market. Growth in the market which is totally against the odds, the statistics which we can see about growing inflation rate, about consumer finance being dried up, bad law and order situation and whatnot. But the reality on ground in the market for consumer durables is that for us as manufacturer, the bottleneck is production. Whatever we can produce, it gets sold. Our credit in the market this year is going down, and our sales are seen growing despite whatever we all are seeing. So this can be termed as a silver lining in the situation. Now, whether it is because of growing foreign remittances, which are now going beyond $10 billion, 10 billion US dollars are over 850 billion rupees, which is like more than 50% of our FBR's revenue. So that is the kind of money our people at large are receiving. And this is only the amount which is reported, which we are receiving through official means. Whatever more is coming through Hundi or other channels must be in addition to this. So despite flood, despite all these things, we are seeing growth in the market in our country for consumer durables. Now what does it tell? It definitely tells that there is something wrong in the macroeconomic indicators we have been getting and we have all been receiving. So this is one side of the picture. Our other business is production and sale of power distribution equipment, which is sold to mainly state-owned enterprises, the previously WAPDA-owned distribution companies, and again, the genuine requirement demand is humongous there. But frankly, if I have to tell you what is going on there, I will have to strictly follow what Hussain Daud Saab has this morning suggested. I'll have to tell you the truth. Without that, I don't think I'll be able to paint a correct picture. And that is, frankly, a sheer bad governance. You see, what we have seen in last 6 months in our power utilities. In fact, you see, power utilities and power sector is the backbone of our economy. We all know that. There are something like around $10 billion of oil imports coming in this country. Our power generation mix is very well talked about, and we all know the anomalies. Had we been having power generation based on hydel and coal resources, and could we use our gas into for feeding our transport section, because we have a wide network of now CNG stations all over the country, we could have avoided a substantial portion of oil imports for power generation and also maybe for the transport sector, which are basically the major two consumers of the imported oil. And if we could reduce a substantial part of the $10 billion of oil imports, the picture of our foreign exchange reserves and the pressure on our currency would have been totally different. So this is the significance of power sector. And how our power sector is being managed, I'll give you 3 brief examples of some incidences which we have seen in last 6 months or so. We all know that WAPDA's distribution network was transferred to distribution companies some years ago, and those distribution companies were managed by a company called Pepco, who is probably the holding company of all the discos. Because of the problems, because of the financial problems, because of the problem of low efficiency of our government-owned power generating units, and because of a number of problems in our power sector, our government decided to liquidate Pepco. You know, when we talk about governing an organization, we have to, and whenever we have to consider moving a small person heading a small department into some other position, we have to see who is going to handle his job. This major decision was taken to liquidate Pepco without knowing who is going to replace or take over this function. Later, again, the problems were not solved. Distribution companies, there was talk about improving the performance of distribution companies, and there were boards of directors for distribution companies. So it was decided that let's ask the boards to correct the management and fix the problems in the distribution companies. So therefore bring new people, new blood in the distribution companies. So therefore one fine morning a decision came that the boards of directors of all the distribution companies will be dissolved, are dissolved rather. Who is going to take over? Not known. For some good 2-3 months there were no boards of directors, there was no PEPCO. Later our Finance Minister Raja Parvez Ashraf Saab, the Minister for Water and Power, under a mega political restructuring for the country, got retired. There was no minister. Now we have, fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know, a minister who is having an additional charge for Water and Power Ministry. So on the power side, unfortunately, this is a hard fact, as I have said in the beginning, like what Hussain Daud Saab has said, till the time we don't tell the truth, we can't paint the correct picture. So power side needs the governance to be fixed. On the other side, there is potential, and inshallah, the country is going to continue because of the humongous potential we have. So I am in the end an optimist about the situation. That's it.
Thank you. So just to recap the messages that we got from our panelists, that it's easier to go into this despair and doom and gloom scenario, but clearly there are opportunities out there. Secondly, compared to the rest of the world, we are certainly better placed in a lot of ways, and the key is how to identify opportunities. Then the consumer sector, as Arun Saab mentioned, is pretty much alive and kicking, and the problem in his views lies probably in the governance on the public sector side. These are some of the issues which I think are going to permeate us and affect us going forward. Maybe they affected us in 2010, 2011 is no different, and who knows, might still be there in 2012. But just to take the discussion forward, as I said initially also, that we are going through a low growth phase. I mean, there is no denying that. We are seeing a systematic reduction in purchasing power of our consumers. Government's developmental spending is going down, and that means that the wheels of the economy are turning slower than they should. In your view, what are the key indicators or variables that we should be looking at in order to see a turn in that cycle, that now the direction is changing, that the growth is accelerating? So what are some of the key indicators that you'll be looking at? And Aziz Saab, if I may start from your side first.
As I said earlier, that even in last year, when the indicators were not showing the right sort of signs, we managed to sort of come out of the difficult situation. In our business, yes, as I said, that taxation, the GDP growth, the influx of forex, this will all have positive things for us. But more than anything, it's the policy making side. If that is corrected, I'm still very hopeful that we can do much better than what we have done in the past.
Sure.
Well, I would break it down into short-term and medium-term. I think we have talked about governance, Hussain Bhai talked about ethics. I think, let's face it, and let's call a spade a spade. We have a governance problem in this country. I think whether you want to get domestic investors or foreign investors in this country, you need to get comfortable that the governance is at, I'm not expecting, it's an emerging country, every emerging country has it, but we are at the pitfalls right now. So we need to address this, and I think an immediate step would be to see signs of that. And that's a short-term trigger, I think, that people will be looking to. We have a fiscal problem. We are spending, it's like a simple thing that we are taught at home, right? How much money do you make and how much you spend? We are spending a lot more than what we make. And what we are spending on is not on constructive things that are going to lead us to the future growth. It's on, with no offense to Haroon, on consumer durable goods, which are perishable in times. And that, again, some of his stuff is okay, but spending on, fast-moving consumer goods, which again, I use it also, but it's not. So we need to invest in the future, in which we are not. So there has to be an austerity plan. There has to be, the fiscal gap has to be addressed. It has to be addressed, and hopefully the leading indicator of that is going to be the upcoming budget. Are they really going to address the tax to GDP problem? We have a tax to GDP problem. We talk about it every year. We have these panel discussions. We have a lot of these delegations that go and talk to all the relevant people. But unfortunately, we are not being listened, and I think it's going to